it.
All right. Well, I hit start. I don't know if it's actually running or streaming. So, people in chat, if you see us now, type hi or something.
I don't see where it is.
Uh, Twitch.tv/extra credits.
Okay, you are up.
We are up. Are we up now?
I can see people.
You can see us, hopefully. Hey guys, we're checking to make sure everything's working.
I can hear Daniel.
Okay, so you can hear me. Good. Now, James, talk. Let's see how we are, like, relative levels.
Hey everybody, can you hear me at all okay? Is my level anything like Dan?
I hear you.
Alright, awesome. That's all that matters. Also,
oh, you're really quiet.
Can you shoot me the link to our Twitch TV stream?
Twitch.tv/extra credits. That should get you there.
Awesome.
Okay, I will turn myself way down here.
Oh, now I can't hear you at all.
Oh, okay, too far. I'll turn myself down a bit.
Oh, this is going to be disorienting in a moment. There we go.
Okay.
Nope. I should be on this side of things.
Apologies, we're just making sure we've got everything working here. I can barely hear either of us now. Okay, well, people...
I'm on an advertisement, so...
People are hearing me fine, but you're apparently really quiet, so that's unfortunate.
Right? I could throw on a headset. Let's see. Let me turn up my Skype mic volume.
Can you hear?
All right, am I louder now, people?
It's louder to me. I think so.
Am I deafening to you, Dan?
No, it's good. It's good.
Daniel, you can go down just a little.
I can go down a little. Okay, I'll turn it down just a bit. Okay, I'm turning myself down a little bit. Hopefully, we're coming a little closer to the right levels here. Sorry, I'm still kind of learning how this all works. All right. We're going to go with this for now. If I can think of any other ways to make things sound better, I will do so. I'll put some little tunes going on in the background here. Quietly. Okay. So, hello everyone. Welcome. Welcome to our second Extra Credits Q&A. I am Dan here, and over here in a Apocalypse Now a vision is James Portnow. So, welcome. And we are just going to be doing a Q&A here for about an hour and a half, I think is the amount of time we decided on. So basically, we're going to be taking questions through chat. You can also tweet them at us if you don't want them to get lost crazy in the chat that is going really quickly. And yeah, I think that's about all. Do let us know if things start sounding weird or if anybody is just way too quiet. I'll try to adjust things. I'm still learning how this setup works. It's like 5 or 6 different programs running all at once, so it's complex. But anyway, I'll stop talking. We should have a question. James, did you see a question anywhere that looked particularly interesting?
Let's see. What do we got? Well, we can just go with the... Oh, hey. Here we go. Oh, should we do an emulation question? I know we've got plenty of people asking about To the Moon. So, what do I think about To the Moon? I actually really enjoy To the Moon. I know those guys personally. They're awesome. Their new game looks awesome. And so, they haven't come up. They've come up once, I think, on Extra Credits. But they haven't come up in any games you haven't heard of but should. But that's probably an oversight. I just don't know how I feel about promoting people who are people I know well. But,
Okay. What's your current game of the year? That's tough.
Hey, Dan, you can start that one.
Okay. I don't even know if I could. I've got I don't even think I could begin to say what my game of the year is. I've been playing too many and then trying to get to the next one that I'm aiming to play. It's ugh. Gotta slow down and remember what all I've played this year.
It's tough. I mean, there's
Yeah.
there's been a lot of good games, not as many totally standout products. Let me think. I can tell you, the thing that ate the most of my time recently is I finally picked up Gods and Kings for Civilization, and I rapidly lost the night to that one. But otherwise, of late, I guess my game of the year would probably be Spec Ops: The Line. But like, as much as we praise it, I know I will be the first to admit that there's a ton wrong with it. And so it's hard, but yeah, I guess I would say Spec Ops just for doing something bold.
I would agree with that one. I think Spec Ops is a good candidate for that. It's probably one of the ones that I will remember most strongly from this year, I would say.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. I enjoyed Guild Wars 2 for a while, and I'd still like to go back to it again. I just have too many games I'm in the middle of. I'm enjoying the PlanetSide 2 beta as well. I never played the original one, so it's all quite new to me, and it's I'm terrible at it, but it's a lot of fun. But let's see here. What else we got?
Either of you gotten into Dwarf Fortress? Yes. If that game were, I don't know, usable, I think it would be immensely popular, right? Unfortunately, again, the guys who make that are right by me, and I've talked to them once or twice, and on the one hand, I applaud them for it, but they have no interest in making it, right? They're making that game for themselves to do things that they think are interesting and have zero interest in any commercial potential for it, or anyone else's ability to engage with it. And so I love that game. And if you guys haven't read, you should Google Boat Murdered if you haven't ever read that, because it's probably the best introduction to Dwarf Fortress. But yeah, if anyone would ever actually lay over a skin of usability to that, it'd be amazing.
This is a good one, and pretty applicable to you. If you were to pick 3 video games for someone to teach in a college classroom setting, which would they be? I guess it depends on what you would be wanting to teach.
Yeah, this is what I'm trying to think through. So are we teaching game design? Are we teaching history? Are we teaching mathematics?
I would say let's say game design, because like history, I don't think you could summarize the history of video games in 3 games. But
well, I meant history in general, right? Like I can give you 3 games to teach Roman history, right? I can give you 3 games to teach the World War II, right? But I mean, at the same time, I can have things to teach math and things to teach physics. But so we're going with game design?
Yeah, let's say game design.
That's a tough question because there's a lot of different aspects of game design. But let's say it's a general game design class, relatively early. I think that one of them has to be Super Mario Brothers, because just the intentionality in the design, the way he carefully crafted moments shines through so well, and it's very easy to see and simple enough that all of it's on the surface. There's just a huge amount to learn from that game. God, for another 2, it's so tough because you have a bunch of different pieces there that you could be going into, right? If I want to talk about systems, if I want to talk about economies, if I want to talk about that sort of thing, of course I'm going to go to Jump to Eve, right? But you can't really teach that in a classroom setting. You can't go over that in the 1.5 hour format. I would recommend The Majesty of Colors if we're talking about mechanic as metaphor, right? And expressive games. That gives me one more cut. This is actually an impossible question.
This is a tough one to start with.
Yeah, I mean, I have to think on that a great deal more because the problem is, right, like any design problem, you have to think about it in the context of the medium in which it's being delivered, which means that you have to think about it in the context of classroom settings. So I'm thinking about what can I teach where not all the students may be able to access it? What can I teach in a format that's a led discussion, right? What can I teach in an hour and a half and get something valuable out of? God, there's so many, right? Like, if I want to talk about game writing, obviously I'd say Planescape, but you can't teach Planescape, right? Like, Planescape is not a game that's successful in a classroom setting. Wow, what a really great question. We're going to come back to this. I got to think about this last one more.
All right, everyone's saying the sound is a lot better, so something I did worked.
Awesome.
Okay. Good. So, yes.
So, ever thought about making a video on movies, books, or any other art form other than video games?
We kind of do now and then. Like, not specifically like, hey, let's do an episode about movies, but we're referencing the other media so much to compare. And some of our topics, like the, like even the most recent one, a lot of our Halloween topics really are kind of referencing horror in general for any medium, as opposed to just games specifically. And
when I throw in all that stuff, I mean, it really is to show that a lot of the design principles are universal, right? One of the two books I think taught me the most on design and video game design are The Design of Everyday Things, which doesn't talk about video games at all, and Understanding Comics, which again doesn't talk about video games at all. So, have we thought about doing those? I like to stick to this particular wheelhouse because there are lots of people commenting on everything else. But hopefully design principles should be applicable across the board, should be universal. So.
Okay. Apparently I look kind of like the Looper version of Joseph Gordon-Levitt. So I look like Joseph Gordon-Levitt pretending to be Bruce Willis.
I think so.
I'm fine with that. All right. I'll take it. Thank you, whoever said that. Did either of you ever get into the online Warcraft 3 scene? And if so, what did you think about the game design of the custom maps? I never actually did. I was too bad at the single-player campaign on easy to, at the time, and still, to do that.
It's really interesting because the Warcraft 3 mod scene was clearly one of the most successful mod scenes, right? Spawned the whole Dota MOBA genre, etc. But it had some of the same problems that all user-generated content has, which is filtering. Right? How do we separate out? How do we make sure the good stuff rises to the top? And there, we had a very active community that was very communicative. That you see, even in things like Little Big Planet, we have this issue. This is something that we're going to have to face as we go to more user-generated content in general. That said, I can't comment on the across the board how was the quality of the UGC in Warcraft 3, but Warcraft 3 clearly gave us whole genres of games out of that democratization of design, right? Out of that simple placing the design in the hands of the user base and see what they can do.
Okay. All right. We kind of like got a combo question here. First, someone's asking me what my favorite restaurant is downtown. Most of what I eat downtown is lunch because I'm leaving from work to just get some food. So there's a few places that are really good, like a sandwich place called Meat and Bread, which is a very simple name for a restaurant, but it's accurate. And yeah, lots of just good, quick lunch type places. Cottage Deli up on Water Street. There's like a little wrap falafel place just like right across from work that is just kind of like literally like a little hole in the wall little place, but it's quite good. But anyway, your part of this question was, do you have any great stories regarding any of your students or teaching experiences, I guess, that you can share?
I'm not totally sure I feel comfortable sharing any of those. I will, without names, say that we have periodically, on Halloween, I believe that there's a lot of value for young designers looking at experiential design, design for a human being rather than design for a computer screen, right? Because one of the things that people don't often realize is that all design is for human beings, right? Your crafting experience is for human beings rather than just putting objects on screen, even when designing games. And so every Halloween, because I can't take people to Vegas, I take one of my courses, one of my advanced learning courses, out to a haunted house. And there have been some phenomenal reactions to such an experience. But I think that's been probably, God, there are specific stories I would love to tell, but no, I won't embarrass anybody. I will just pass on that one and hopefully catch up with some of these before.
Someone says it.
To respond to the lighting on me, I think it's hilarious. This is how I was naturally lit when I came on. My camera doesn't pick up light well. I could throw another light on me. I found it amusing that this is actually how I sit in work. I was like, oh God, James, fit the stereotype quite well.
Someone says it looks like Sam Fisher found your house and shot all the lights.
Right.
So
this is awesome. All right, so you got another one?
Let's see here. Someone says there seems to be no MMO from the past 7 years that hasn't fallen apart rapidly. What is it that makes World of Warcraft and EVE Online maintain and stay on course, whereas every other one seems to just fall apart right out of the gate? I'd say that some of them, not all, have fallen. Like, a few of them have kind of stuck it out in a smaller capacity, just with a niche. But maybe those are just ones that are just holding it together for a while before they collapse. I don't know.
So, EVE Online maintains its user base by the fact that it is not World of Warcraft. Everybody else tried to jump in and be World of Warcraft and compete with World of Warcraft. Why would you do that, right? World of Warcraft generates $1 billion a year. You're just never going to even be able to fight with the amount of content they can put into that game. So we needed to appeal to other niches, right? The things like EVE Online are very successful, but simultaneously, look at things like MapleStory, right? MapleStory has going on 10 years, huge amount of content. You'll find that there's a hunger for MMOs, but you play MMOs because your friends are playing that MMO. And World of Warcraft has everybody right now. We'll see what happens when World of Warcraft sort of finally peters out.
Okay. Unprofessional question. Are you guys single? I'm married.
You gotta maintain a mystery around that one, Dan.
All right, I have no mystery. I am married. My wife is right across here. We have cats who are probably been walking behind me nonstop. So, no mystery here.
So, why do so many games Why do so many game features that seem standard seem absent from many games? Skippable cinematics, that sort of thing. Are you actually moving this thing around? I'm totally ducking behind.
I'm trying to I'm dodging you. Hang on.
That's off the other side. There we go. All right.
Okay.
And an addendum to that. What are your stances on emulation, and what alternatives do you see to expose a new generation of gamers and game designers to the history of the medium? Oh, really? So on the first question, why so many features that are skippable? I should just bob and weave. I should just continuously dodge. All right. So why so many why so many features that you think would be standard at this point, such as skippable cinematics, do we completely fail to deliver in many places? So my answer to that is really poor design or often poor decision making. A lot of times you have people who are really invested in you seeing their cinematics who realize that if you press the button and they give you that option, you will skip the cinematic. And yet lots of people have lots of hard work in that. Lots of people are really invested in this narrative they're trying to tell you, and so don't want to skip it, right? So it's either just poor design or oversight, which still happens a lot, right? Game companies don't communicate. We reinvent the wheel all the time. And then on the flip side, it's people deciding that they don't want to give those features to the player, often because there is some personal investment there. And to me, as a designer, you really have to embrace what's best for you. I mean, it's rare that it's better to treat games like medicine for someone to take.
Okay. All right, we have a couple questions here. One, are we going to be making any appearances at Desert Bus this year? I know Lily and I are going to be down there. Are you coming too?
I don't know. I really want to, but we haven't fully coordinated schedule, so I'm going to try.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, Lily and I will be down there for sure for at least part of the first weekend. So, yes. So we'll be there for some. After last year, I would not want to miss it. The other question is, have we seen Wreck-It Ralph? I have. Have you?
I have too.
Awesome. What'd you think?
I was shocked they got all those licenses.
Yeah. That had to be expensive.
So I enjoyed Wreck-It Ralph. I'll just be honest. I thought it was fun. I thought some of the pandering fan service was a little silly, but it was still great. It's totally worth it.
Yeah, it's not telling a incredibly original story, but it's telling that kind of very standard story quite well, quite efficiently. And I was really worried for some reason, seeing the trailers and such, that it was going to be kind of one of those movies that seem to be coming from people who don't really know the gaming scene very much. They're very obvious references, or just kind of or just movies that involve anything with the internet made in the 80s or something, where people just really have no idea what it's capable of or what it does, but or with hackers. But yeah, it felt very genuine, it came from a place of love. So yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I was really I had a complete 180 or a 360, 180. I don't know. I had a complete turnaround on my opinion of the Sarah Silverman character. I was expecting to just be annoyed by that character the whole time, and really once you actually see it, she's quite adorable.
My burning question for that, of course, was whether they paid Beard Papa or Beard Papa paid them.
That's a good question. Yeah, that a lot of busy Disney lawyers over the last few years, clearly. Why do you think Trackmania is so popular in Europe but not in America?
That's a good question. I would need to put more thought into that. That goes into the bin of questions we'll come back to. Or at least I'll come back to.
Okay.
Really have to right away.
What are your thoughts on God Hand, and do we need more auteur designers in the medium like Shinji Mikami?
God Hand. I'll answer the second part of it. I think they're both pros and cons together. My thought on the auteur designer is that it is fantastic for for smaller independent projects. It allows for a lot of clarity of vision and radical experimentation. But unfortunately, I've seen it move from auteur designer to dictatorial designer too often in a AAA setting, where you really get things like the newest 3 Star Wars, right? And then an entire company let it go. So do I think it has a place? Yes, absolutely. Do I think you need to be willing to share a vision a little bit more. In the AAA, probably.
Okay. Has a game ever made you cry? I'm guessing yes, so I guess we'd say which ones.
I was young, but Phantasy Star 2, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Right on. Okay. The ending of Metal Gear Solid 3 got me. I don't think a game's ever had me like a full-on like tears completely wrecked me, but there are definitely some that have kind of had me welling up. Like there are some places in Persona 3 and 4. I think Persona 3, the like FES expansion little campaign mini thing, and a little bit at end of Persona 4 that definitely got me. But
well, you know what's really happened to me a lot? It's not even having a tragic moment in these games, but really when finishing some of these games, having that moment where I realize I have to leave this world or leave these characters forever, that like they become a part of my life in a short period of time, and now I am just done with them. There's actually, I feel that, right?
Totally.
There are plenty of times where that's poignant.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, the same with Persona and Mass Effect series as well. Like, even if it's not a, you're right, even if it's not a sad ending, just having to leave is still a really sad feeling. Let's see, trying to find another good one.
Have you ever considered a show on mostly forgotten genres like interactive fiction and the adventure game? Yes, actually, I've thought about it a bunch. We're finally getting some good examples of how to modernize those genres. And so for me, I've considered penning an episode a couple of times on sort of the logical modern extension of those genres.
Cool. Who did you make the most uncomfortable when you went on Firefall Fest? Because they all seem to be squirming a bit.
The art director. No
art,
question. I almost feel bad. I don't feel bad for the question, but like, man.
That was good. I enjoyed watching that part.
You know, and I just want to say real quick to all you guys, like, this is why, at least for me, I'm behind them, right? That was on their dollar. Total disclaimer, they flew me down, right? They were like, hey, come on our show. This is a promotional thing for them. And I said to Mark, I'll only do it if you'll let me ask any questions I want. And he was like, yeah, anything. And hammer us because we're going to make the best product. And no, I've never seen any major game developer that would, on their own promotional event, let you ask those sort of things, especially not be prepared, right? Especially without having those already vetted and answered pre-scripted by legal or whatever, right?
Totally.
And so I was really happy with the fact that they were even willing to do that. So that's,
yeah, the guys at Red 5 have been consistently quite awesome. Anybody who missed it, you can find James's whole Firefall Fest section on YouTube now. That's where I ended up watching it afterwards. And I think the part in question that we were discussing was when James basically forced the art director guy to answer why the female characters were basically dressed so kind of a skimpily, very in a... what's the best word? Kind of exploitively a little bit.
there you go.
Yeah. So seeing him sitting there on the spot and trying to answer for that was uncomfortable but entertaining. It's like a good episode of The Office.
Well, somebody should have, right? Like, that's a question that has to come up, and they have to answer. So, better there than after the product's release, right?
Yeah. Ooh.
But, you got one? Because I got one too.
Okay. How's the voice actor episode coming along?
Oh, do tell, because I'm going to answer the next one they've got is, when are you going to do religion and gaming as a topic? So I'll answer that one after you field voice acting.
Okay, voice acting episode is coming along a lot better now, actually, because we were waiting to do that one until we had actual voice actors who could contribute and help out, and now we've got voice actors who have contributed, and they've recorded some stuff like answering questions and basic stuff about the field and their jobs that we're going to integrate into an episode. So basically now we just have to write it. So it's kind of whenever we feel like doing it now. So yeah, it's a lot closer to coming out than it ever has been. So I'm pretty excited for it. Now, next question.
Right, so it's about half as far from infinitely far away as it was before. Religion and gaming. So last year at the Penny Arcade charity auction for Child's Play, we auctioned off an episode pack, and the fellow bought it, asked for religion and gaming. And I've actually spent the last year trying to find games that I feel like deal with this in a for lack of a better word, a more mature way, right? And so far, I've come up with very little, right? It's actually going to come out. I'm in the middle of writing it right now because, and a lot of it's going to be about the fact that it was a, so if you guys have any suggestions, feel free to just shoot them to our email box, right? Tell me any games you think deal with religion well, because right now, the big problem for me is we deal with it fairly well with the mechanics of religion, the broad scope, but like this idea that religion is a force that moves mankind, everything from Civ to sin, right? We deal with it in the strategic sense, but we very rarely deal with the question of faith and on a human level. And that seems to me an area, since it affects so much of our lives, that is something that is ripe for exploration.
Cool. Lily's in chat now, so hi, Lily. We're going to try to...
Excellent.
In the future, we're going to try to, as I'm refining this setup and trying to sort of work out the kinks, we're going to try to... I'm going to try to move this into like a Google Hangout so we can maybe get more than 2 people in here easily, and so ideally we'll get Lily joining us, and maybe even Allison, as she's kind of the rare white elk of this group. So, yes. Another question. How is the art situation going, and are you still crunching to get it all done? Not nearly so much as we used to. Basically, having Lily on board has made everything significantly better. Allison will be ready to come back pretty shortly here. We've been giving her kind of just a nice sabbatical to just fully settle into her new job, have some time to just kind of rest, because she'd really been getting burned out doing this show and crunching at other workplaces, and just it was pretty bad. Honestly, looking back, we should have been doing a alternating artist schedule all along, because that's just, it's too much work. Doing one of these episodes is too much work for somebody to have to handle alongside a day job, and a day job in the game industry, which is likely to be like a 50 to 60 hour week regularly, or 80 in your case.
And I mean, especially since Lily just got her full-time gig as well. Yeah. And so, who knows? Who knows if someday we'll get somebody. But I love the fact that our artists actually like worked on games. Yeah. It's really hard. We need someone who can do it full time, but at the same time, like, I think it's great.
Yeah, I agree. So, but in an ideal situation, which we'll be getting to pretty shortly here, we'll be having Allison and Lily switching off every week, basically. And so, and hopefully that should that gives each of them twice as much time to make each episode that they have to make, and hopefully that'll kind of make the workload a lot more manageable. So, that's the plan. And so far, it seems to be working, even though we're really only just doing it with Lily, alternating with guest artists currently, but it seems to be working anyway. But, yes. Do you ever think that extra credits will grow into something that you guys can make a living off of? That'd be cool. I don't know. I can't picture it, but maybe that's just because I just can't picture it, but...
See, I don't think so either, unless we really wanted to find other ways to monetize it, right? Like, if we actually want to do more merchandising, if we wanted to like sell episodes, like do DVDs, that sort of thing, maybe. But I think it would involve us not having the time to do our day jobs, which right now I'm not quite ready to give up yet.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing, is that we all have great jobs we love. Just even though those jobs are scattered everywhere. I mean, you've got you've got an awesome teaching gig, and you've got an awesome consulting company. I'm working for Pixar, which would be really hard to give up for anything. Allison's working at Retro, Lily's at DNA, I think. And so, yeah, like, when you really love your day job that much, it's hard to want to leave it for anything. And I really can't. I have a hard time imagining us actually pulling in enough that we could support all of us full time. But it'd be cool. I don't know what to expect for the future, honestly. We're holding it together right now, and that's really all I've been able to focus on.
Yeah, let's get through MagFest, and if we survive that long, we'll talk about the future.
Yes, that'll. But by the way, everyone, you should try going to MagFest if you can. It's like PAX, but smaller and really laid back, but good times. PAX and MagFest. Another question. Do you think a video game movie would be good if the actual game studio were to be involved? That's a good one. It depends on what capacity they were involved in. I'd kind of be afraid that... I kind of liked that, because from what I heard, it sounded like Ubisoft was wanting to exercise like a lot of control over the Assassin's Creed movie. I think that's the one that I'm remembering. And the film studios weren't happy with that because they weren't having to deal with that from anyone else. But I like the idea of kind of the games creators having a consulting kind of a veto power over something, like saying, no, you can't do that. No, that's not what this game is, just to ensure that the film stays true to what the game is. But if it were actually having the game crew involved in making it, I'd be worried it'd be kind of like pulling in a Hollywood screenwriter to write a game, or a great novelist to write a game, where they're good at what they do, but not all of that necessarily crosses over. I don't know. It really depends on how the pipeline and the production was set up.
Yeah, I think that we just need more communication, right? Like, I think that games people don't necessarily know how to make movies. Movie people don't necessarily understand what's at the heart of the games. And so if there was some way to have a collaboration rather than having one or the other in charge, but who knows, that might just spark bang.
Yeah. Ooh, I know one of you are trained in classics. That would be James. How has that influenced your work in games?
I'll just put it this way, right? I've got a master's in entertainment technology and a bachelor's in classics. I use my classics degree far more than I use my entertainment technology degree. I think that besides the actual data, the information gained therein, there's a rigor to thinking that some of this stuff provides you that I think is just highly valuable for you.
Okay. What do you think about Disney buying Lucasfilm?
You want to go first on that one?
I feel happy about it. Well, partly because I am involved in, I'm technically a Disney employee, and seeing how we have acquired, like, who all do we have now? Like, it's Disney, Pixar, Marvel, ESPN, ABC, the Muppets, and now Lucasfilm, ILM. We're basically like the entertainment pantheon now. And so I'm excited about it because it basically frees up Star Wars and Indiana Jones and who knows how many other IPs. I'm basically excited about them again for the first time, like, and where they could go. Just with the feeling like they couldn't really, a lot of them couldn't get much worse. So, like, it feels really good to be excited about Star Wars again. It's like, imagine we're going to be able to, like, all of us who used to argue with all of our Star Trek buddies about which one was better, that until this point, that debate had ended in a forfeit. But now we can actually have that debate again, like, as grown adults, and that's going to be a good time.
I wonder if the agreement between the two of them said that they can't re-release 1 through 3 as totally different movies. Because I'm hoping they can write those out of canon.
That would be great. Yeah.
But personally, I'm just excited for the Marvel vs. Star Wars fighting game.
That'd be awesome, actually. That'd be so awesome. Okay, let's see. What are some good resources available for aspiring game designers to have their concepts critiqued by peers?
Sorry, repeat that one.
What are some resources available for aspiring game designers who want to have their concepts critiqued by their peers?
IGDA is a good place. You usually have IGDA meetups in your town. Your local game schools are another great venue. Or, I mean, I believe that prototypes are really the way to go if with your game ideas, right? With things like Game Maker, Game Seller, pretty much anybody can pick up and start at least gray blocking out, making. Maybe you can't do the art, but you can put the design into practice, and then go anywhere, right? Go to your local coffee shop. Don't be shy. Grab people and be like, "Hey, can you give me 5 minutes to play my game? Try it out. Tell me what you think." And I think that has huge value, right? There's so much value in getting people to test your game who don't know you, who don't have any obligation to stick around or tell you nice things.
What do you think about 3D audio? Do you think it'll be used in future games, especially in virtual reality? I don't have any experience with 3D audio, actually.
I think yes, in terms of will it be used in future games, especially for first-person shooters, sure. Virtual reality, I still don't think we're there yet, right?
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see when we have a technology that I think qualifies as consumer virtual reality.
It appears that many recent games are catering toward the console environment. Do you think that's going to hinder the development of high-end gaming hardware? I'm interested to see how you feel about it on the development side.
I don't think it's really holding back, because at this point your PC is so far ahead. The real question is, so much development has been diverted to the iPad, iPhone, mobile market, and the social market, that and that's showing us in a lot of ways that we don't quite need the level of processing power much beyond the current generation to still really engage people. So to me, that is diverting our research and technology efforts, right? We are looking for miniaturization rather than maximum potential. But in the end, progress rolls uncontrollably forward. I don't think that anything is going to really slow that trend.
Okay. What's the current status on the Indie Fund? I'm guessing since PAX.
Yeah, you guys, I'm assuming that you guys all heard the PAX stuff. Basically, they're just trucking ahead on the game. We got an announcement out over the last couple of weeks about our funding picked up by a couple of sites. We're trying to push ahead, but at the same time, like with finding the game, I don't want to talk about release dates or anything like that, because the game will be done when it's good, when it's something that you guys can engage with, and it probably means that to help them fund as a company and help them continue, we probably will run a Kickstarter with them for their game to help them continue to have the amount of money that we need to help the development. They're really good about not spending a lot of it, but at the same time, I would rather see them ship the game that they should ship rather than the game that they have the dollars to ship. And it's not a big difference in terms of the money. So that's where it's at to me. It's getting cooler by the day, and hopefully we will have a demo at some point we can make publicly available. For the PAX demo, while good, is the biggest game maker hack of all time. Like, by the way, if anybody at Game Maker, anybody knows anybody at Game Maker, they really should talk to those guys, because that was the biggest shoehorning of that system that I've ever seen. But they've been rebuilding the engine from scratch. The engine's coming along great. We'll see when we actually get a lot more about gameplay back in.
Do you have any thoughts on Steam Greenlight? A lot of people asking about that one.
I do, but I've been talking too much.
I haven't looked too closely at Greenlight. From the sound of things, it's like a good idea, but it's got a lot of kinks to work out. Kind of like not quite there yet.
I think Greenlight serves a valuable purpose for Steam itself and for Valve. Valve could no longer have on staff the number of people they needed to vet products, and so they needed some way to determine whether or not games were popular, right? Whether or not games would have an installed base that was worth supporting before they put them up. And the easiest way to do that is crowdsourcing, right? which makes a lot of sense. Greenlight, therefore, is most valuable to games that already have some following. It's games that have some way of raising their media profile. I don't think it's going to be the giant boon to independent development that everyone has talked about as. On the other hand, I do think it's good. I think that they have some of the content issues that we talked about with user-generated content. Their sorting method is simply you guys wading through the sewage to find the gems. But that aside, I do think it means that we will see a wider range of things get onto Steam.
All right. Now, I think that we're having a little bit of trouble hearing you, and that might be partly Skype, or if you're able to speak. If you're able to speak up and like kind of closer to the mic, that might help a little bit. But yeah, sorry for the Skype and microphone stuff, guys. We'll do our best, and I'll see if I can find a better way to make this work in the future.
And I'll see if I can grab a mic that I'm so used to using my headset mic, but like headset wouldn't exactly work for this. That next time I'll grab a real mic.
All right, we'll get you kitted out with something for next time, and yeah. Would we be open to speaking at a university in Canada sometime? I would. I'm up here already.
In fact, I'm actually speaking in Ottawa 2 weeks from now.
Cool.
So I'll go with yes. And actually, I did. I was even in New Brunswick. So I've spoken in a bunch of the provinces. So if your university ever wants either of us out, just drop us a line. Nice.
I can't travel that much just because I have to take vacation days and such. But if anybody is going to school somewhere like near Vancouver and would like me and maybe Lily to come out for whatever reason, then yeah, then just let us know. We're in that area. We can probably both manage that. What's your personal gaming guilty pleasure?
Honestly, for me, it's either drafting Magic or going back and playing Panzer General 2.
It's more Panzer General 2. All right, mine's actually like a seriously guilty pleasure. Like, and I think I answered this one last time as well. But the 2 DOA volleyball games that came out way back when, I guess it wasn't that long ago. But like those 2 games that came out, and not for the reason you think, because because the sex appeal of those things is questionable. Like it's actually more kind of creepy and like weird, uncanny valley looking sort of thing. But there's a feature in those that basically they're one of those games that you can set up your that you can put MP3s in the Xbox and like create your own personal playlists of music, which basically allows you to kind of DJ your own beach party, which maybe it's just because I did some like DJing at dances and stuff in high school and things like that, but it really appeals to me in a very laid back abnegation kind of way. I just sit back, put on some favorite tunes, play a simple little volleyball game that doesn't require a lot of thought. It's very entertaining. I was actually just playing Burnout Paradise today and found that even though I can't create my own playlist, there's always still a button dedicated to next track, which really appeals to me. Just having like 2 buttons that are always designated to next and previous track in a game that like works well for that kind of thing really appeals to me for some reason. So yeah.
Well, I've got one that's pretty difficult. What do you guys think are the proper steps to take in order to remake or revive a series? I mean, I know we talked a little bit about this in extra credits, but any thoughts your side?
Honestly, some time to... I guess I'm assuming that in this case, the series would have been dead for a while. Like, if the series hasn't been dead for a while, like no new games have come out for a few years at least, I'd say I always get more excited when a series has been gone for a while. Like, I think it helps too. Like, if a series really went downhill, just let it disappear for a little while, let people kind of forget about the bad, and maybe have enough time to start to miss the things they really liked about it. And then I guess it really depends on the game. If the original games had something that was really appealing, like something genuinely great about them that made everyone love them in the first place, go back and try to find what it was about those original games that was so fun, that was so appealing, and see if you can recreate that. Maybe not necessarily recreate the game itself, but recreate that same kind of appeal. Or if the game series was never that entertaining, then try to find some appeal that sort of game would work for, and do that instead. Okay. Sorry. So yeah, that would be my answer. But
I was busy getting Skyped by other people, so I was rapidly typing, telling them they were beeping at lots of people.
all right.
But so how do you revive a series? I mean, I think your answer's pretty much right. You just go back and you really have to examine what it was at its core that you were delivering with that series that really engaged people in the first place, right? And then you sort of have to look at how you use that, how you deliver that same thing in a modern setting. But beyond that, that's really all there is. And when you see series fail at reviving, it's because the risks they take are in trying to deliver something totally at odds with that core underlying reason that people went to these games. I mean, when Sonic got a gun, it was over, right? Yet you see when they succeed, they try something mechanically different. Right? They find new ways of delivering that same core engagement. But that said, they don't deviate from what it was that we went through that series for in the first place, right? Take Mario 64, right? Mario 64 delivers a totally different way mechanically of delivering the same things that the Mario series had, at least since Super Mario World from 3 or before.
Do you think a World War I game would be good?
Dude, both Slytherin and Paradox have delivered on World War I games. If you're looking and you want to know whether a World War I game would be good, you know what would be awesome? World War I first-person shooter. You run out of the trench, you get shot, you respawn, you do it again. For 4 years.
Okay.
Desert bus of FPSs.
Nice.
But if you do want to see World War I strategy games, both Slytherin and Paradox are those.
Also, there's Trenched, if you don't mind some historical, questionable accuracy. That's what World War I is it should have been. Lots of good questions, but now I'm stuck trying to choose which one. What kind of video game criticism do you prefer? Like the humanist stuff, like Tom Bissell's writing, or something more design-oriented, like the reverse designs of Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger? Or maybe some third option? Just basically someone's dying to know what sort of game criticism we read or watch.
All of it.
Done. Okay.
I think there's a place for... I think there's a place for everything, right? Like, I think there's a high value for each of those types. I think that the only... there's even a place for your standard IGN GameSpot type reviews. I just wish they would deliver a little bit more specificity and really dig into what they were reviewing. I mean, I guess I don't actually like a review in the traditional sense of, hey, this is what you'll find in this box. I don't think that has high value. I think that the number at the end actually does have a very valid consumer purpose. There are times when we need to know, okay, did that get a Metacritic of 60? Maybe I won't buy it, right? But beyond that, I think that in those reviews, oftentimes the reviewers could be more conscientious and think more when they say the bosses were good. Explain why. Talk about what it was that this is really good.
Yeah.
But beyond that, right, whether it be humanist, whether it be really clinical design, they both are great.
Okay. Yeah. Now for just basic, for the basic utility of reviews, I often go to just game trailers mostly just because it helps me to be able to just see visually like what the game is for whatever reason. It just I feel like that helps. But yeah, for like general criticism though, there's lots of different places I'll go. I've actually found the Penny Arcade report to be pretty great, not only for the actual like work coming right out of that, but just for the cut feature basically, which highlights everything else worth reading that's been coming out that day. I found it to be a pretty great all around. So yeah.
And I mean, I read Gamma Sutra pretty much every day.
Yep.
And Gamma Sutra, for those guys who don't know, is really just the industry-facing website that talks a lot about both the business side and design ideas and postmortems from design in the industry. So that's something that I find out. And Rock Paper Shotgun, give them a shout out.
Yeah, them too, of course. What's your take on the stealth genre and how it's mostly reduced from full stealth games to action games with stealth elements, like recent Splinter Cells, Assassin's Creed, that sort of thing?
So I've been talking too much, but
I'd say then I will say something. Play Mark of the Ninja. If you're missing stealth games, play Mark of the Ninja, because that may be one of the best stealth games I've ever played. Period. So like there's a trial on Xbox Live Arcade. I think they have it on. I think it's on Steam now. I may be wrong, but I think it's on Steam now. So go look that up, because that is absolutely worth your time. Even if you don't like stealth games, play that one because it's really, really good.
It is. It is on Steam, and Mark of the Ninja is free. There is eventually coming an extra credits on stealth, because I will give away the thesis right now, but fundamentally, it's really difficult to make waiting engaging, right? Most of the time in games, you're putting in input, right? You're doing things, you're doing actions or making choices. It's very hard to flip that around and make this actually being still, not doing inputs, engaging. And the stealth games that succeed at doing that, and the stealth games that fail is where we're going more and more often. People try and patch that by putting action, right? So yeah, we'll be talking about that eventually.
Okay, that'll be a good episode. I look forward to that. Do you guys watch any esports?
I play me some League. I periodically watch me some esports.
Yeah, I don't go out of my way to watch them usually, but every now and then if there's like a big tournament or something, I'll try to like catch a recap on YouTube later. I keep track of Total Biscuit's output pretty regularly, so I do get to see some of his StarCraft stuff, and I've definitely enjoyed seeing like the League of Legends World Championships and stuff. They opened up a video game bar here in Vancouver called the EXP Bar recently, and it was pretty cool getting to go in there, have some drinks and some food, and watch the tournament currently going on like on a bunch of screens everywhere. So it was so yeah, I watch them casually, but and I enjoy them, and getting to see some qualifier play at PAX, like I think the North American finals, I believe. That was pretty awesome. Like getting to see it live. Just it's an entirely different experience actually getting to be a part in a big crowd and feeling that energy when something crazy happens.
So I had a quick question on the Facebook. Have you done anything more on gamification on the education front? Where can I go to keep up with the latest? I am working on a year later, my revised thinking. I've done a bunch of work in that field since then. Sooner or later, it will show up on extra credits again. I don't know exactly when. It's whenever I finish that episode, whenever my thoughts are in order.
Do you think portable games as a whole are dying because of Android and iOS games? I would argue that they're doing better than ever because of Android and iOS games, but I guess that depends on what you're, like, how you're defining portable gaming. But, I would say that the portable gaming experience of basically trying to carry around a full-fledged console game may be kind of, falling aside, or, becoming a bit more niche, but I'm finding it less useful anyway.
Having a dedicated portable gaming machine is becoming, I think, less viable than it was in the DS generation, because there's clearly a massive consumer need for portable games. But that's being answered. Your iPhone, your iPad, your Android, they're all strong enough pieces of hardware to allow you to play fairly current gen games, right? Current gen portable games. And so why would you ever carry around a dedicated piece of hardware that can only do that when you can carry around this thing that you're carrying around anyway and have it do that? Plus price points just that.
Do you consider visual novels to be a true game genre, and why or why not? I don't have a lot of experience with visual novels myself.
I have this issue with visual novels that there is often a very limited set of interaction. We hate and love, right? Analog and digital are interesting examples that I'm working through right now. I think that often to me, I wouldn't call them something other than an interactive experience, and yet I think they lose a lot of the power that they could gain from that interactivity through simply through limiting it.
What university would you recommend for an aspiring game designer in Vancouver?
Vancouver is your place.
I didn't study game design here, though, so VFS is the one I'm aware of, but are there other schools up here that you'd recommend alternatively, or would you recommend them come just south a little bit to your neck of the woods?
I think VFS is great. I think DigiPen down here is great, but I also always recommend there's a lot you can get from a traditional 4-year university degree. And so, as I said, I took my undergrad in classics, right? So if there's a really solid school up there that teaches what you want to learn, just make sure that you focus on games and building a game portfolio in whatever time you have remaining, and try and land an internship, right? Try and make sure that by your sophomore, at least junior summer, you're interning with the game company. You'll be fine.
Okay. Yeah, Lily just posted in chat saying VFS, but not straight out of high school. So and she went to VFS. So there's that for anyone who is still deciding. This person has several. Oh, do you have one?
I've got a whole bunch, but yeah.
You go ahead. I've been reading questions endlessly here.
All right. So let's go with. What do or you do not like to see in a game trailer? I know what I like to see, but my answer is simple.
It depends entirely on the game, but yeah, I'd say it depends entirely on the game. Just something that will get me, that will just catch my interest or excitement. And I guess it depends on like if this is like the initial debut or if this is like close to when the game's coming out. But yeah, just something that will get, just so long as the trailer shows me why this game should appeal to me. I don't find myself enjoying the ones that are basically lots of slow fading text and then like 5 seconds of game footage and then game title and then it's over. I see some of those, but I don't know. What do you like seeing?
Gameplay.
Yeah, and it depends on the game. Like as we get closer to the game's release, I like seeing a lot more gameplay in the trailers. I'm fine with them being much more cinematic at the start if they want to, but it has to at least clearly show what's so interesting about it.
I want to see their core mechanics, right? I want to. There's a lot of things that we can tell at a glance, but I want to understand why this game is worth my investment, why it's worth my time. And cinematics alone aren't going to do it for me, because even if you're setting up a beautiful world or a fantastic story, if you're not delivering that within the game, it's not going to play me. So
true. What's your opinion on the new Devil May Cry, the DMC thing that Ninja Theory is doing?
I'm not stepping on that landmine. That one's
I will. I'm all for it. I really like Ninja Theory's work, and that partly because I'm an animator and also a person in film, which is clear. Those are things that clearly they enjoy and prioritize a lot: animation and making something look like a film. Uh, and honestly, the Devil May Cry franchise has felt pretty had felt pretty stagnant and weak to me. Like after Devil May Cry 3 was fun, and then 4 was just kind of like, okay. Honestly, I'd love seeing that franchise become really interesting. So I'm all for them taking a crack at it, and if it doesn't work out, then hey, then it'll just probably go back to being what it was before. But I'm excited for it personally. But
I got one over here. Is there anyone working on human interfaces to enable gaming for disabled people? My disabled friends seem to miss out on a lot. All I would say is there's a website called Able Gamers, which reviews the accessibility both of games and gaming hardware. I think it's definitely worth going to, definitely worth letting your disabled friends know about, because there are a lot of people working on this, and there are a lot of developers who are trying to be conscientious about these things. So Able Gamers is what I look at.
Cool. James, are you going to GDC, and would it be beneficial for an aspiring designer to volunteer to help there?
Yes and yes.
Yes. Good. Okay, good. What kind of fallback jobs are there for aspiring game designers? That's a good one. Is there something else you guys can do?
I have always in my life chosen to not let myself have a fallback, because then you don't have the option to fail. It's meant some rough times at times, right? Like, when I first got into game design, I had enough money to fly out to the place that had hired me, but not enough money to actually rent a place. And so I ended up, luckily it was San Francisco in the summertime, so I ended up sleeping on the beach for the first 2 weeks until they got me my first paycheck, and there was a shower in the offices. So I was always the first person in, the last person out in that place, and they loved it. But for me, I put myself in highly questionable situations by not allowing me that out. So I don't really have a good answer to that.
Okay. Lily recommended bartending, so yeah. Of course, she's not bartending now, so what does she know? Let's see. Here's a few. Why are game companies making entry-level design positions impossible to obtain? That's like, I'm aware they want experienced designers, but you can't get experience if design positions require you to ship AAA titles on your resume. Good question.
Part of being a designer is understanding that rules are only there to provide a framework, right? I have never met the qualifications for a design position in terms of technical years or number of titles shipped that I held in my entire career. It's never stopped me from applying for stuff, and it's never stopped me from getting stuff. So what I would say to you is, don't listen to that, right? That's part of how they're weeding people out. Apply anyway, and if you can, go to GDC, go to the other things, meet people at the company. Make sure you know somebody who you can send your resume to personally, who can make sure that your resume gets in a different pile on HR's desk. But yeah, those qualifications are inherently ridiculous because they demand for a starting position several years of experience, which is inherently impossible. Don't bother with it.
All right. I can only speak for the animation industry, which it's a very similar situation. There's very few entry-level jobs, and that's mostly just because it's kind of a risk-averse. Like, companies want people who they can guarantee will be able to do the job. So yeah, I lucked out getting this job, honestly. What makes companies like Valve and Atlas so good? I'm guessing fairly different qualities.
Makes companies like Valve and Atlas.
I don't know what, like, Valve just seems like the weirdest anomaly of a company ever, but it works.
Well, Atlas's thing is trying things which are new, right? Atlas is willing to take risks and understands how to get games out on a budget. right? Atlas games are usually actually substantially cheaper than a lot of AAA games that you see out there. On the flip side, Valve doesn't care. They're going to release a game once it's good. And if that costs them $150 million, well then, guess we're spending $150 million because we got Steam, which is the infinite money valve. So let's go. So I would say two very different things. But
let's see. You see any other good ones?
Yeah, we've got a couple. Let's see. Are there many dedicated studies or peer-reviewed papers on the cultural influence of games? No. Frankly, no. I mean, it's a long story, but we've pseudo-done an episode on this, and you guys haven't seen it, but it exists, and it's somewhere between the two of us. The problem is that right now, I mean, if you're in school taking a bachelor's or a master's or a PhD in psych or sociology or any of these things, we need people to do really good peer-reviewed studies of games. Right now, almost all the studies are commissioned by, are either statistically insignificant, have poor methodology, or are commissioned by people who have a point to prove, either on the video game side or the anti-video game, these things are prepping our youth side. And so in my digging through in the sociological impact of games, I found the research to be remarkable.
Okay. Do you think the free-to-play market is going to crash? And if so, when?
I guess I'll say that, sure. No. I mean, frankly, will it get saturated? Yes. In the same way that the iPhone market got saturated. Will it crash? No. In the same way that the iPhone market didn't crash. It will find an equilibrium. Its equilibrium will not be of the same volume that people eventually make free-to-play games to, and then it will readjust. But do I think it will crash in the way that some of the social gaming crashed when a lot of the levers it relied on were removed by Facebook? No, I don't think so.
Okay. How would you go about convincing someone like a parent or anyone who's rational in every other respect that games aren't just some idiotic toy? Like,
I've been talking too much. Do you want to jump on this one? I mean, I can get it. But...
I guess it depends on where this person's coming from. I don't run into a lot of people who I still feel I have to convince. But I guess that's because I don't have like a parent or someone who like has that sort of authority, who has that kind of authority over me anymore. You could show him our show. Like, I don't know if that'll.
Good answer, Dan.
I don't know if that'll convince them, but couldn't hurt. But I haven't had to try to convince a lot of people, honestly. Like, and the few people I have who like have asked me that sort of thing before, I don't know if I've actually managed to convince them. So I don't know. What do you? I'm sure you run into that more than I do. Like, what have you done?
I would recommend showing them games that have things that they understand as be it a positive message or clear learning value. I believe I referenced civilization earlier, but I'll throw it in again here. I have not really seen many parents object to things like this. And once you can show them that and get them on board with the fact that this might be a good thing, you can then talk about how the value of interactivity here, right? The value of living history or whatever topic you call it, rather than simply being inculcated with whatever the particular textbook that you're looking at decides to provide you with. Really understanding the problems rather than just repeating the game. And once they understand that, then it's, to me, an easier discussion about why the broader base of games has value, why these experiences are worth living.
Okay. We've had a couple of questions kind of on this topic, so I'll kind of lump them all together. When are we getting an EC episode on animation, or when are we getting some more of those so you want to be a blank position episodes? Because there's definitely still some of those we haven't covered. And I think the answer is about the same. We basically need to get some help from people in those specific positions. Like, I know a few game animators who I know I would like tap for help and for suggestions on writing such an episode. I know you know other people as well. But I don't know, are there any other ones that you've been kind of mulling around and considering for the future?
The problem is that some of the things that people really seem to want a lot of are places where I feel like they just aren't really entry-level positions. As much as I hate to say it, things like composer or writer are not things you're going to get an entry-level position in unless you're working with an indie company, right? And in which case you're either doing a lot of different things, you're working for free, or you founded the company yourself. In which case you're also doing a lot of other things. Yeah.
I'm sure there are definitely some, like, artist obviously would be a good one to do at some point. I could definitely get in touch with some people and we could do animator. I'm sure we could think of some other ones as well. Like, it could be interesting looking at some of the jobs that aren't necessarily directly involved in making the game specifically, like other, like PR or other studio, like management. Or I guess that's kind of getting outside of the field of games, but I don't know.
I think you're right. I think we should at some point do PR and marketing because unfortunately they take a bum rap in a lot of what we talk about because we generally have to bring up when PR and marketing goes terribly, terribly wrong. But there are some really good things that they can do working in conjunction with the developer for the best both products, the consumer, and the world at large that we should talk about. Oh, we keep getting this question. Like, we've had a million people ask us, would we do a TED Talk? If you guys want to put either of us up for a TED Talk, go nuts, right? Like, I'd be totally happy to do it. Dan, I'm sure, would you be able to do one? Dan would love to do one. Dan is absolutely totally down.
Yeah, okay.
But no, if you want to throw us up, sure, absolutely. I just haven't gotten time. I don't even know how the process works. I don't really want to campaign for it because, frankly, I just don't have the time in my life. I have to figure out how to scale back as is. But I would love to. So, yeah, sure. If you guys want to start that and need any support from us and getting that rolling, sure. I would love to talk. I want to talk about education. I mean, honestly, the work I've done in the last year has made me realize that I think we're conceptualizing education completely wrong. I'll keep it super brief, but every time I've talked to somebody in the educational industry, we always talk about this idea that our educational system is broken, and this is false. Our educational system is actually doing the best it's ever done at exactly what it was designed to do, which was in the 1850s, it was designed to take people on the farm, take an agrarian society, and move it to an industrial one, right? Make them clerks and factory workers. Unfortunately, that's no longer what we need. But by conceptualizing it in this fashion, people always try and think about how to fix it, right? But instead, we need to look at the underlying changes that have occurred over the last 150 years since we built this system. And that's something I would love to talk about, but yeah, that's the end of that conversation. So I would love to do that. If anyone's interested in a spiel on that subject from me, I have plenty to talk about, but I think we're here for games more. So is there anything that any other questions we got before I go back on education for a while because I could just rant?
Okay. Someone asked how I got started in animation 3D modeling. I went to a 4-year college and started as an art major, and then after about a year kind of figured out that there wasn't anything in that major that I wanted to do professionally, and I found out that there was a kind of a small 3D animation digital media thing in the drama department, so I just decided to go try that out and ended up liking it. If anybody is wanting to pursue animation as a career, I recommend to everybody the online course Animation Mentor, because it's got a heck of a reputation, and is going to be considerably cheaper compared to other like 4-year schools with a similar reputation for quality and job placement rating. But yeah. Anyway, so that's how I got started with that. There's another good one in here. Where are all these songs from OC Remix? Yes, they are. So, or most of them. But yes, you can find most of them at OC Remix. You definitely should check them out as well. I know I saw another good one in here. Favorite console, both handheld and major, or home, I guess.
Dude, Vectrex. Vectrex forever. Like, it comes with the screen. I'm carrying it with me. It's both.
Troll. All right. Home console, I mean, I really don't get too committed to consoles specifically so much as the games they allow me to play. And so like right now I find myself using the 360 a lot, but I use the PS3 as well. I've been using my PC a lot more now that I've actually gotten Windows like on boot camp and all that. So yeah, I'm really not like incredibly attached to any specific console like except for the games that it allows me to play. So I don't know. What about you?
Right. No, I mean I agree. I would say that if I had to pick a console, I loved my Genesis, but it'd probably be either PS1 or PS2. As those libraries were just phenomenal, right? And as far as portable handheld, I know I'm going to take a lot of flack for this, but I actually really like my iPad as a portable gaming device. Super convenient. I have it with me wherever, and I can just crack it out and play, right? And I can download new games. I don't even have to get to a GameStop. If it's midnight, I can get something. So I actually like my iPad as a portable gaming device.
Yeah, and you can write episodes on it, so that's good too.
Yeah, and then you get them without spell check, and they're the worst things ever. But
that's all right. Do you have any favorite video game like entertainers, like Game Grumps or the Angry Video Game Nerd? Do you watch any of those type things?
Yeah. I actually, some of the Angry Video Game Nerd stuff I actually like a lot. I think he actually has some insightful points to those, but I know it's this really tepid answer, but I do actually really like Zero Punctuation. I mean, I think that he has had a overall positive effect. I mean, I would love to see him be able to shake up his stick a little bit, but I'm definitely Zero Punctuation, and then the guys at PA, right? So,
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely them. I have been enjoying a Total Biscuit, like I said before. I've actually been listening to Game Grumps and in the background while I work, which is sometimes hazardous because I will occasionally just like bust out laughing or having to stifle laughter in the middle of a just workplace. But yeah, like, there's lots of Loading Ready Run's not really video game related exclusively, but I mean I enjoy them very much. I enjoy some of Bob Chipman's stuff. Like I enjoy The Big Picture. I enjoy I guess it's his non-game related stuff that I enjoy the most. But yeah, I mean, there's so much game related entertainment out there, and I consume what I can of it, but just for lack of time. But yeah, Zero Punctuation also, of course, that's kind of where we got our format originally, so how many hours do you put in gaming a week? That's a decent one. Because for you, the number's quite different. Like, there's hours like actual fun gaming, which I'm guessing is actually pretty minimal, and hours like work gaming and kind of like analyzing, which is, I'm guessing, a lot.
Yeah, this is what I was just thinking through, right? Like, I probably get to put in like maybe 6-7 hours a week for myself playing games that I honestly, I mean, I hate to say it, but like for relaxation, for enjoyment, for myself, I probably actually finish 2 or 3 games a year. I play a lot, right? Like, it's weird because I also really enjoy looking at games for mechanics. I love digging in and figuring out the mechanics. And then there's a lot of games I can leave behind after I've sort of played around and dug through those. But I probably put in good somewhere between 10 and 15 hours a week playing games for work, and another 6 to 8 playing games for myself. Maybe the balance is a little bit more skewed than that even. It might be closer to 15 to 20 for work, 4 to 6 for myself.
Yeah, I think on a good week I can maybe get kind of close to the 15 mark for games played, but it's between work and doing the show and all the other things that I'm like TV shows that I try to keep up with or movies that I'm aiming to watch. It's hard. A lot of weeks it can be difficult finding a good chunk of time to sit down and get through something, but which is partly why my gaming to-do list is growing so fast and why I don't think I'm ever going to get ahead of it. But
my Steam library is ridiculous, right?
Yes.
I've never even installed games. And man, you have no idea how many bad games I play for.
So I have the benefit of at least I can focus on good games, and even then I can't keep up. But what do you think of? We kind of answered this in an episode, but what do you think about the next generation of consoles having used game protection? I think what we said was we don't see it happening. No.
Well, I don't see it happening, right? Like, why would you ever do that as a console manufacturer? It doesn't make sense. Unless you're moving to all digital, in which case you've answered the problem anyway yourself. I think that as much sound and fury as there was around that, I really doubt it's going to actually happen.
Do we have any excuse me. Do you have any plans to make a game journalist episode, especially with the recent Mountain Dew fiasco and a suicide and all that? Do you feel it needs to be discussed on our show?
Yeah, I do.
There's a lot to say, like a lot of different kind of things that could be talked about. We could probably do several episodes on it, honestly, if we wanted to.
There's also this problem that there's just like no education. There's no place to go to talk game journalism theory, right? Like, there's so much about journalistic ethics and journalism theory that occurs for regular journalism, and you don't see. I mean, the thing that came up, right? I don't know. Did you get to see that piece? It basically,
yeah.
I mean, it's true, right? Everybody in games journalism functionally takes bribes, right? Like, there's no other way to put it. Even if you don't intend it, right? Everybody takes free stuff from PR, gets to know the PR people really well, becomes friends with the PR department, and then it's really hard to pan a game or to talk honestly about it or its development or release any of the story. But the problem in it is that the reason that this happens, right? The reason that we don't have to do it is because we all have day jobs, right? But like, as you said earlier, just doing EC alone wouldn't give us enough dollars to make a living off of it. And so I run into game journalists all the time who have the best intentions, but like couldn't possibly afford to do all of this on their own dime. And so, yeah, of course they'll accept the flights from the game companies. Of course they'll accept the free games. And of course they'll accept all this stuff. And so the other question is how you get enough money to have the journalism side be independent from the PR system that goes on.
Yeah. So there could be an episode there maybe at some point. But do you believe the title video game just is too broad for our medium?
I think the game part is what's... I mean,
that might be too narrow, honestly.
Right. That's I think where I'm coming to. That I don't know what the rebranding is, right? What our version of graphic novel is. I don't think we necessarily need to do it. Maybe we do.
Yeah.
It's interactive experience or whatever you want to call it. But
yeah.
we do have an idea of what game means, and a lot of the products, a lot of the best experiences that I've been seeing coming out don't really fit what we normally call game. Right? And I think it boxes us in.
No, I'd agree with that. I don't really know that I don't know that we could change that name. I would guess that maybe a kind of variety of games or interactive experiences that share a lot in common with games would have to come out that we just really do not match the game label anymore, and we kind of have to come up with something a little bit more specific to work for those. And then maybe that helps us to kind of break out of the mold of maybe we come up with a more general term that covers games and this other thing, and maybe that other name kind of eventually becomes the appropriate label. I don't know. That's about the only way I could see it happening, but yeah. I saw one a second ago, and now I just do you guys play any board games? I know you do.
Yes. Like everything else, I try and sample a bit of everything, right? Like, I'm a big fan of the various German board games. On the other hand, I'll confess, I like me some old school Avalon Hill, 40 hours putting chits around a board. That's the size of my living room, right? The old Dune board game was fantastic. On the flip side, we've got things that I think things like Catan, right, that are simple. By the way, for all of you guys who are wondering, or Catan fans out there, I believe that Cities and Knights answers a bunch of the problems with the basic version of Catan, and so I pretty much only at this point play Cities and Knights. But then the simpler experiences, right? I love those. I love some of the deck building games that come out. I'm a huge fan of Race for the Galaxy. Yeah, I could go on and on. I'm done.
I don't play many board games, but it's usually only like occasionally trying one that I've heard a lot about when a friend comes over or something. But yeah, my time to do leisure things, it tends to be so limited that it's I would basically have to just really pick and choose what I actually make time for. But all right, I guess we're kind of getting toward the tail end of our time here, so I guess we'll enter like maybe 3 more, and then we'll call it a night. And we'll hopefully try to do these a little more often when we can, and maybe set up something a little where it's a little easier to like audio quality is a little better. Like, I know there have been some times when you're a little more garbled, and I'm sure there's lots of improvement left to do with this whole rig setup, but we'll work on it. So thanks for sticking with us, folks. A few more. Someone asked if we'd ever considered doing an extra credits like in my regular voice. There's a lot of things about extra credits that if I were going back and redesigning the show from scratch, I probably would change, and the voice would probably be one of them. I would also go back and like design the show specifically like to be like the process for making the show so that it would be easier on everybody and fit our schedules better. Probably design the look of the show a little bit differently. There's lots of different things that I would change, but but the voice is kind of a thing about the show now, like for better or worse. And there's lots of things that I like about the voice as well. So maybe sometime I will just for fun like release the audio before, like the regular audio before I've pitched it up for people, just for kicks, so you guys can hear what that would sound like. But I think the voice is probably going to stay a pretty regular thing for the foreseeable future. So yeah, and I don't think I could get rid of it honestly if I wanted to at this point.
So I'm going to grab one I can answer super quick.
Go.
Someone was asking, Stanford's apparently giving a free course on game theory. Should an aspiring designer take this course? There's a common misconception that game theory has anything to do with video games. Game theory is a mathematical study of occurrences, often statistical occurrences that commonly happen in games. But it is not actually about game design. So would I encourage you to take it? Yeah, learning is always great. Game theory is very interesting. Is it going to be a course to teach you how to build games? No, not at all. So just, there's my 30 seconds on game theory.
Right on. All right, we need to do one more, and it needs to be good. So
Well, then I want to do one quick one first because there's
Okay, two
someone
more.
here who's asking a bunch of times about how he should start up a club at his university.
Good.
And I mean, I don't really have as much advice for you as I would like there. It's clearly not something that I've done because he's asking a non-games related university. But just be okay with starting small, right? Find some of you and your friends, have an informal gathering that you can actually keep together for a couple of weeks, and then just start posting flyers, right? Get people to it. And then talk to your administration. Right? Talk to them about how you get funding, how you become an official club. But just get to that point first. Get to the point where you have a group of people who are meeting regularly, some whom you knew before, some whom you brought into a social group, and grow it from there. Don't bring the administration in right away. Don't try and formalize it right away. Just start simple. Start with something that you can all keep track of easily. But I'm letting you pick the last one.
All right, I don't know if this is quite good. Like, I don't know if this should be the last one, but it's an interesting one to me. If someone wants to start their own extra credits-esque sort of show, how would I suggest going about it? My recommendation would be to find something unique. Find about the the format and the presentation, and just find something to make yourself unique. Like obviously extra credits, the original format and everything was pretty borrowed a lot from Zero Punctuation and other kind of slideshow sort of narration shows like that. But we've kind of, especially since then, we've really sort of found our niche and kind of defined our just the show kind of has its own identity at this point. But I think there's a lot of variation within this. Basically what we are is kind of like a teaching tool, like a audio-visual teaching tool, like way of presenting a lecture. And there's lots of ways you can do that. There's a new series that I've started watching on YouTube called like a Crash Course World History. There's like 40 or 41 episodes, and it's just like 10 minutes of a guy basically sitting in front of a white background with like just lots of various visual aids talking about some aspect of world history for 10 minutes, and it's super interesting and like just it's just tiny little digestible bits of information. So I think there's lots of different things you could do and teach and talk about with this sort of format, but I definitely recommend trying to forge your own identity in that. But I don't know, was that good enough to be a last question, or have you seen another one since then? It's hard to stop.
I'm willing to call it. Lily's sitting on here, hanging out, and I know that we're going to keep her up super late doing that extra credits if we keep this going. So I think we should just call it a night for all you guys.
All right, for Lily's sake, we'll call it a night. And yes, guys, thank you very much for coming and watching our second official big Q&A sort of thing. We are hoping to do these more regularly, and we'll try to figure out ways to make the quality and everything a little bit better and easier to hear and all that. We'll keep working on it. But thanks a lot for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.
See you next time.
Good night.